But it's more likely you're brunette, right?
I meant to focus on the task at hand.
Agent Gemini has the package. He's on the first floor at the north elevator.
Perfect.
He's got company.
Not for long.
Come on, damn it. Forget it. Let's take the stairs.
All right, so let's look at our first example, which is mixing some production dialogue and maybe some ADR choices.
Very good. Okay. So let's play this little section first of what we had in our mix.
It's pretty damn hot in there.
When is it anything other than hot? Besides, it's more fun that way.
Focus, Zero. Let's try...
So what we're actually using in the mix is some ADR. We've replaced that dialogue for some reason, but let's see if we can go back to production sound and see if we can make
So
that
we
work.
can tell that right away because the top production tracks at the top there are muted. The regions are muted.
That's right.
And you're going to scroll down.
I'm going to scroll down to my ADR tracks, and this is my my ADR right here. So if we play that again.
When is it anything other than hot? Besides, it's more fun that way.
So let's go ahead and mute those. So
Okay.
I'm going to highlight those and mute those. And let's scroll back up to the top again to our production tracks. And these are my original production tracks here. And I'm going to unmute those. And let's hear what our original production sounded like.
There.
When is it anything other than hot? Besides, it's more fun that way.
Let's solo those up. So if you clicked on that track,
Yeah,
so
go
it's
and
already there.
Go and solo those two tracks. Then we can hear it without any backgrounds or
Sure.
anything else.
When is it anything other than hot? Besides, it's more
So
fun
even
that
though
way.
we tried to cut it and fix it, you can hear there's a saw that's happening on the street below.
That's right. It was a different angle. So the first one has that saw on it. The second angle is better, and you can see by our dialogue edit that we've filled some of the other noise, and we've done the best we could to fix it. But that first line still has a lot of the noise in it.
Yeah. So I think what we did at that point was try to fix that noise with a plugin, right?
That's right. We actually used Isotope, which will sample noise and remove it from a track. So let's have a look at that and see what that sounds like. So I'm going to go back up to these tracks right above there. And this is where we've applied Isotope to these tracks. And let's see what it sounds like now.
When is it anything other than hot? Besides, it's more fun that way.
So it did a pretty good job of fixing the second line, but it's pretty hard to get rid of that construction noise in that first take. So let's do something we might do on the stage, and the producer says, "Well, I really like the performance of that of the production sound. Can we save as much as we can?" Well, we can't really save the first part, so let's mute the first part there, and let's go down and let's use the first line from ADR, and we'll use the second part from production. Let's hear what that sounds like. That's on. I have another button down here on the bottom, which is clear solo. So since that fader is not on the surface anymore, if I hit clear solo here, it clears all those solos and I'll hear everything now.
Okay.
Hot in there.
When is it anything other than hot? Besides, it's more fun that way.
Focus, Zero. Let's...
So they do sound a bit different. You might need to EQ the ADR to make it a little bit duller, right?
That's right. We might need to match it a little better and do some more mixing on that, but we've solved the problem of noise by adding the ADR. And I think when we did the final mix, we decided that it sounded better to use all ADR so that the entire line sounded more
Cohesive
similar.
and together.
That's correct.
Right, and part of the trick of that with the ADR, in this case, we had cut two ADR lines, a boom, a microphone, and a lav. In this
right.
case, we chose the lav, and then we filled the roof tone to match.
Yeah, you can see the track right above the ADR. We actually took the time to go through. I cleaned out and got some of the room tone from production, that roof tone, and looped it and made it into big loops so that I had a consistent roof room tone that we could use to cover those ADR sections.
Okay, great. Pretty good overview. Now, we haven't done any sort of automation or mixing yet, but I think you have some other examples you want to maybe show some of that, right?
Sure. Why don't we go back to the beginning of this little section, and we have a couple places where we have some of the characters talking through a radio. And when we use a radio, we do what's called futzing the voice, or make it sound like it's coming through a small speaker or a headphone or something. So for starters, let's look at the guy who's on the helicopter here. Let's just play this little section here for a second.
got multiple tangos on the rooftop. You going 2? I can't hold it here long. Let's go.
Now that sounds pretty good. And the reason it sounds pretty good is we did another trick on the ADR stage, and that is we actually sent the sound of the mic through a speaker. We actually recorded a little radio.
Right, and I happen to be the actor who did that.
There you go.
So I actually held a walkie-talkie. We recorded it directly into a boom mic.
That's right.
And also, you had another mic elsewhere on the stage. So let's hear the dry version, right? That would be...
Now, something else, I'm going to give you a little tip on muting tracks. You notice that there's a muted region within here because we decided not to use these couple words in there. If I want to come back to this, if I mute everything here now, I won't know what regions were muted within there. I'm going to create a region group and mute the region group. And what that does for me is it keeps intact any of the regions that were muted in the original. So when I get done with this, if I simply undo the region group, it'll go back exactly to what I had.
Neat.
So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to make a region group. We're going to mute it, and then we'll go up here to this track here, which is the one that is unfiltered, and I'm going to unmute that. Now this also, if I look at my volume graphing here, this wasn't mixed yet either.
Okay.
So let's do a little. We actually have to mix a few things on here. So the first thing I do before I start mixing is something you can do with Pro Tools HD is you can do a thing called preview.
Okay.
So if I look over here on my automation window, and I call up preview, you can see the green button lights up. What that's going to do now is everything that I touch in the session, anything that like a fader or EQ, it's basically going to start remembering all those moves that I made. So
well, it's gonna put in a safe mode so you can try things out.
that's right. It's automation safe mode. That's exactly right.
Anything you touch.
So right now, if I were to solo this FUTS track 3, I'm not hearing anything. But now if I raise the fader to hear the level,
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop. Now, would you EQ on the channel itself?
I could do it on the source fader, but what I've chosen to do is I want an overall FUTS on that chain. So basically, I could do multiple tracks going through the FUTS chain and have the same treatment on all of them.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select my FUTS track and call up the EQ on that. And you can see I've already done some EQ on that. And what I've done on that is I'm using, the easiest way to make a FUTS is basically to roll off the low end. So let's play it without...
You got multiple tangos on the roof.
and also I'm going to go back over here and we're going to, I have some distortion on there too. I'm going to take that off for now just so we can hear just what the EQ sounds like. So let's
Okay.
go back over here and go to just the EQ, and I'm going to put the,
You got multiple tangos on.
and I might want to, let's just put it back to normal with the high pass too. So
You got multiple. So we can hear it. That's what I sounded like in the room. Multiple tangos on the rooftop.
yeah, so simply, and then we're just going to roll off some bottom end.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop.
And the more we roll it off, the smaller speaker it sounds like it's coming out of.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop. Okay.
So we'll go somewhere in the middle there.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop.
And then we can roll off a little bit of the high end.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop.
And then I also put in this chain, I put a distortion, the air distortion, because a lot of radios have a little distortion in it. So let's insert the distortion, and let's turn the distortion off to start with.
You got multiple.
And let's start adding a little distortion in there.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop.
So we can make it sound kind of crunchy.
You got multiple tangos on
And
the.
let's listen to that on the mix.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop. You going 2? I can't.
So let's say we like that. Let's go ahead and write that into automation. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to punch preview, which if you look at my automation window there, I hit punch preview, and I'm actually writing it in. I can ride the level.
You going 2? I can't hold it here long. Let's go, go.
And when I get to the end of that, I can auto match out, and it goes back to where it was.
Great. I think I liked the other one better with the walkie-talkie, but a really good mixing example of how you can create a FUTS if you don't have the walkie-talkie.
That's right. In this instance, I would agree with you that that I think that the walkie-talkie for that particular thing sounds better. So we've mixed both. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go back and we're going to mute the original one. And remember how I made this into a region group?
Yeah.
We're going to on-region group that, and now when we play it, we're back to original.
You got multiple tangos on the rooftop.
Very, very good. All right, so let's take a look at one more ADR example in mixing dialogue. And this time, we had to get a little creative because the story, the bad guy knocks the good guy unconscious, and we sort of want to take his sinister laugh and make it go into the dream state, right?
Okay, well, let's go to that section. So we did a little ADR for him here, and let's go into preview again here so we can hear that track.
Okay.
And let's listen to the volume of that.
Okay, it's pretty good. That's a very sinister laugh. I think maybe the end part is a little loud, but maybe we'll just mix that in, and we also need to add some treatment of reverb, right?
Yeah, I'm going to build this. Let's write the volume first.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's great. Perfect. So we've got the volume automation. I really like that trick. Is that Control and Command? You touch the fader and it shows you the automation breakpoint.
That's right. And I can turn that on and off if that track is selected as well.
Okay. Now, on the second row of encoders, you can see the reverb sends and the delay sends, right?
That's right. I know that on Reverb 2, I've got a longer reverb. So let's just listen to that for a second and hear what that reverb sounds like. So I think that's going to work, but I don't want that
in the beginning, right?
I don't want it to be the whole thing. I want to actually write the volume of that reverb going in. And something else I can do, if I flip the fader here, I actually have the send volume on this fader here. Let's go ahead and write that in. So if I hit punch preview, I can write that in from here.
That's pretty great. Now, I know it would be maybe nice to have a little bit of delay as well. And because you're on this aux row and it's showing currently the send to the verb, you can page over, correct? To get to...
Yeah, I want to page over to my delay now, which is right on this fader. And
okay.
I'm going to preview it first again. I want to hear what that delay is going to sound like on there.
Okay. So you know where you want to go by trying it out.
I do, but maybe I'm not quite happy with the delay. I want to actually go and look at the delay, which I have over here. So if I select that delay, I can go over here on my inserts, and I can select that delay, and I can tweak that up a little bit too. So maybe I want the delay time to be a little bit longer. So let's go to the left delay time, and I'm going to tweak that up. Let's make it. Let's say, right, it was at 375. Let's go to maybe around 500 or so, or 400, just a little bit more. And I'm going to do the same thing on the right, just a little bit longer. I'm pretty happy with the
feedback.
I just want it to be a little bit longer. So let's preview that again and hear what that might sound like. So I kind of like that a little better.
Right.
So let's go ahead, and since we've previewed that in our automation, I'm going to flip the fader again so that my send level is down here, and we hit punch preview. I hear a little distortion. I think I did a little bit too much. Let's try that one more time, and this time I'm just going to redo what I just did.
It's great.
So I like that a little better.
Yeah. Some really good examples of a lot of different things. We saw regular fader automation happening there. We saw some really good examples of preview trying some different things out. In the bottom row, you were using for sends of both reverb and delay, and then you were flipping them down to the faders. And on the top row, you were able to access things like the reverb and the plugin, so to speak, at the delay times, and pull it all together and use the console for real-time mixing to your benefit.
That's right.
All right, well, let's move on to our next section, which is going to be background.
Right.